Welcome, artists. We are talking about the principle of design emphasis today. And what emphasis is it is drawing more attention to either one element or a combination of elements in your artwork. So if you look at this work of art by Marc Chagall, called this The Red Sun Over Paris, even the title tells us what's meant to be emphasized is this red sun. And why does that happen? Well, it happens because there's contrast going on. There's most of the work of art has this blue, dark, cool color, and then you slap a big old red sun in the middle of it, which is a warm color. It's different than the blue, and it just makes your eye go right to it. And that's the idea of emphasis. Emphasis is meant to draw your attention to one or more things. So we're going to look at a few works of art that are going to show us emphasis, and they're going to show us different ways how to create emphasis. So let's move on here. So one of the ways we can create emphasis is with converging elements, or it's also called leading lines. Now the leading lines in this work of art some of them are implied lines, which means there's not actually lines there. They're just things that draw your eye. And there's also actual lines. So let's look over this real quick. So we have this opening right here that draws our eye towards this woman on the swing. Now the woman on the swing is not just emphasized because of the leading lines. She's also emphasized because of contrast, because she is pink and bright and the background is dark and green. So that also creates emphasis, but we'll talk more about contrast in the next step of our PowerPoint here. So this opening where there's light creates a big, wide, fat line that draws our attention right towards the woman on the swing. The ropes for the swing itself draw our eyes towards her. There's a gentleman back here who is pulling ropes to swing her. Those ropes draw our eyes towards her. So does him looking at her. His arms are pointed kind of towards her. All those things draw our eyes towards her. There's a guy laying down here in the grass. He's pointing towards her. He's looking at her. We have the statue right here that's actually also looking at her. So all of those things together are leading lines. Now, like I said, they're not all actual lines. They're implied. If you would look at this statue, you'd look and say, oh, he's looking at her, and that automatically makes us want to look at her. So all of those things draw emphasis towards her. Next we have this work of art, which is showing contrast to create emphasis. And you can use value, color, texture, lines, or any other element of art to create contrast. And contrast, like I said, means difference. And so in this one's very interesting because there's really two things that are emphasized, this red dot and these crazy looking squiggles. When I ask a classroom of students which one has more emphasis, I get about 50% saying the red dot and 50% saying the squiggles. The red dot creates emphasis because it's not black, it's red, and so it draws your eye towards it. But then the squiggles also draw your eye because they're different than these two dots. They're not shaped the same. They kind of have a movement to them as you look through it. Your eye kind of has to go, and so that's like a visual movement, and that creates emphasis as well. So it's okay to have more than one thing emphasized. You just have to be careful because if you do too many, then it's almost like nothing's emphasized. So you have to be careful there. All right, the next thing is grouping. It's when you place similar things together. And if you look at this work of art by Rembrandt, what's grouped together is all of these faces. They're all together. It creates an emphasis in the work of art. You notice the faces first. Then you look at the faces, and the faces are all looking towards this doctor and what he's doing. And then you realize, oh, he's working on a dead guy, teaching more than likely about musculature and bones and whatnot, because he's cut open this guy's arm and he's holding it with a pair of forceps and showing, not forceps, I forget what these are called, tweezers, I don't know. grabbers, we'll call them. So it's kind of a little bit shocking, but you may not even notice the cadaver first because all these heads are grouped together. So you kind of look at the heads first, and then you look at what they're looking at. Now the last one is isolation. It basically just means when you put something on the paper all by itself, especially when you make it big, you're going to automatically create an emphasis. It's like saying, I don't want there to even be anything else on the paper because I want you just to look at this. And this is a famous work of art by Rene Magritte. And the text here says it's in French, but it says, this is not a pipe. And I ask my students, do you think this is a pipe, or do you agree? Do you disagree? And some will say, no, that's not a pipe. And some will say, yeah, that's a pipe. What else would it be? And the right answer is actually that it's not a pipe. It's a painting of a pipe. You can't smoke this, because if you do, you're smoking canvas or paper, and that's not healthy. Not that it's healthy to smoke anything, but it's not actually a pipe. It's a symbol of a pipe. It's a really clear, great representation of a pipe, but it's not a pipe. So Rene Magritte got a lot of flack from his fellow artists for being what they thought he was being sarcastic and kind of mocking others. But he was just trying to make a point that as artists we create symbolism. We don't create, most of the time we don't create actual useful things in the sense of, you're going to put your hands on them and put them to use. We create things that are meant to be looked at and symbolic of other things. So he had good intentions, but like I said, he got in trouble for it. So let me see here. So this week, your theme for your sketchbook is legendary. Now, what I mean by legendary is anything of legend. It could be something very old, like characters from Homer's Odyssey. I don't know if any of you have read that. It's a tough read, but it's a great story. There's lots of Greek legend, monsters, men and women in that story that you could bring into your artwork. Or it could be something more modern from, some book like The Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or even, The Hunger Games. Those are modern legends. You could really do comic book characters, because that is kind of our contemporary legends. Think about Superman. Superman's not even 100 years old, but probably I don't know if you guys realize this, but one of the oldest comic book characters, superheroes around. He may be the oldest. So you can use things like that. You could use things like legendary athletes, whether that's someone like Kareem, who's a legendary basketball player, or Tiger Woods, whatever it may be. Pick something that interests you. Anytime you do art, it's really wise to do something that interests you, because you're going to be more invested in it and you're going to enjoy it more. So I look forward to seeing your full page, fully colored and or shaded sketchbooks. The assignment for that you can find in your Canvas page for the week. So enjoy, and I hope you understand emphasis a little bit better, and I look forward to seeing how you use it in your sketchbooks this week.